And we'll come back to local politics. But before then, to our earlier story, in an overnight military operation, U.S. Special Forces captured Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro and First Lady Cilia Flores at a heavily fortified residence in Caracas, the country's capital. The compound, described by President Donald Trump of the U.S. as more of a fortress than a home, with reinforced steel doors and a secure steel-encased panic room, was breached before Maduro could reach safety. The surprise assault has drawn swift international condemnation and heightened fears of regional instability, as Ode Francis now reports.
Late last night and into the early morning hours, more than 150 U.S. aircraft launched from land and sea in a coordinated assault on a heavy fortified compound in the heart of Venezuela's capital, Caracas. The operation, described by officials as unprecedented since World War II, was designed to apprehend Nicolás Maduro, who has been indicted in the Southern District of New York on charges related to narcotic trafficking and crimes against U.S. citizens.
All Venezuelan military capacities were rendered powerless as the men and women of our military, working with U.S. law enforcement, successfully captured Maduro in the dead of night.
The assault began with U.S. air components disabling Venezuela's air defense system, clearing the way for helicopters to enter the target zone.
It was dark. The lights of Caracas were largely turned off. It was dark and it was deadly.
At 1:01 a.m. Eastern Time, the apprehension force descended on Maduro's compound. Despite coming under fire, U.S. forces responded with overwhelming force. One aircraft was hit but remained operational. Officials say the mission was executed with speed, precision, and discipline. Maduro and Flores surrendered without further resistance and were taken into custody by U.S. forces. At 3:09 a.m. Eastern Time, the extraction force had safely departed Venezuelan airspace. Maduro and Flores were transported aboard the administrative justice, where they now await extradition proceedings. The White House said the U.S. will oversee transition government in Venezuela until a safe, proper, and judicious handover of power can be arranged.
So we are going to run the country until such time as we can do a safe, proper, and judicious transition. And it has to be judicious.
President Trump emphasized that the U.S. seeks peace, liberty, and justice for the Venezuelan people, and that the mission sends a clear message to Americans' adversaries around the world.
And we are ready to stage a second and much larger attack if we need to do so. So we were prepared to do a second wave.
Russian, Iran, and United Nations through the Secretary General condemned the strike, calling it an extremely serious act of aggression, warning of escalating tensions in an already volatile region. Witnesses reported low-flying jets, burning vehicles, and widespread blackouts. Key military zones, including Fort Tiuna in Caracas, were among the targets. Ode Francis, Citizen TV, Nairobi.